Hey guys, welcome back to the WeTalk podcast, the We Lend podcast, where we dive into private lending, real estate investing, and everything in between. I'm here with a good friend and borrower and one of the top producing brokers in the Brooklyn market, Mark Martov. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man. What are we buying? What are we selling? What are we renting? Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Let's go.
So let's talk about how we actually got acquainted and
oh man,
how many years do we even know each other?
I'd rather not say the years because I'm still trying to play my age off. We know each other for a long time. I think did we meet in Colombia? Or we met before that?
No, I think we met right before Colombia.
Yeah.
Great introduction though.
Yeah. Oops. But we made a lot of friends over there. Greg being one of them. If you need some jewelry, hit up our boy Greg Rail. We know each other for a long time. Serge actually introduced us, the lawyer, who is amazing, still a good friend. I still give him tons of business. And it's funny how you just meet people and then years later it clicks. I was borrowing from somebody else from before, and then you, who is the master of follow-up, by the way, so whichever industry you're in, follow-up. I don't care if you're selling cars, if you're selling whatever, anything. The only thing is follow-up. You're like a really niche business with the hard money loans. And you kept on saying like, hey, Mark, why aren't we doing anything? And then one day, just perfect. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. And I'll just be blunt. Like in the beginning, you guys were more expensive than the next guy. But the level of service, the ease of how everything works, how I could get you guys on the phone, explain what's going on. And I'm in the middle of construction. Hey, the tiles are coming in. I need to pay a vendor. I need, the HVAC guy is here. The floor guy is here. And honestly, it's literally, you get what you pay for. Right. And the quality of service that WeLend provides is unmatched in this industry. I don't care how much lower somebody else is. That level, I'd gladly pay any day.
I appreciate that. Yes, guys, I am still originating loans. Mark, I mean, listen, it was tough getting you in through the door. I remember. I mean, I get it. You had a good and great relationship with your lender. Yeah. You didn't want to jump ship to another lender and maybe deal with some issues or whatever it is. Yep. But then when you did jump ship over to us, you're like, wow, what a smooth process.
Love it.
The back end was amazing. You had pretty much zero issues. I mean, with the draws, I don't know which feature you use, whether you have the inspector go out there or...
No, I do it. I just do it. You guys have an app that I use. Yeah. Super user friendly. I take some pictures. Literally, it's like uploading a picture, wires out within 24, 30, whatever. Yeah. Within the next day, the wire is sent, which is great.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, listen, we try to incorporate as much tech as we can. We're young guys, so we also understand how everything plays out. I also went to school for tech, but really don't do anything much there. Yeah. I went to Pace, actually. I think you also went to Pace,
I also went to Pace,
Yeah. So how'd you get started in real estate to begin with?
Oh, man. That is, how did I get started in real estate? So the origination came from, I left Wall Street. It was like a dark time in my life. My mom got diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, man.
I left a job that I was at for 7 or 8 years. I was also going through like a really bad breakup. One of those, I think everybody has one of those unhealthy relationships.
Yeah.
And I was super motivated. Like I needed a change. More importantly, I wanted to impress my mom because at that time, the writing was on the wall that she only had a certain amount of time left. And I wanted to just fully devote myself and jump into something, one that I was very passionate about. I just didn't, I had a good earning from Wall Street, and you're coming into a business where you eat what you kill.
Right.
You got to be ready to go 6 months without seeing a penny. And for a guy that, from an immigrant family and where we're taught, you go to school, you graduate, you get a job in finance or, some big corporation, you get a check, you get insurance, you get a 401k. And to drop all that, by the way, you needed balls is like an understatement. And I took a big risk. Thank God it worked out. It panned out. And like I said, there was numerous factors that were motivating me between the horrible breakup, my mom, the lifestyle changes and everything else. It like literally propelled me, and I was hungrier than anybody. Yeah. Day one, I was like just out on the street knocking on doors, immediately trying to, get that get a kill so I could eat something later on.
You know, it's funny because for some people it can do the complete opposite, right? Like they'll get into this dark hole where they're not gonna come out of it, and they're like,
this,
I'm not doing anything. Maybe they even resort to like drugs or something.
Yeah.
But
I know, it was funny. I know somebody that went into crazy depression after a breakup, and they good friend of mine growing up, Masters, and and I don't even think he's still recovered. I have no idea. And he was like a good-looking, great young guy. And, it's all about how you react to, the punches that life hits you. But I mean, look, if somebody's facing like their mom gets diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, if that doesn't propel you, then I don't think what will. Like, and the same thing with COVID. Yeah. If you didn't turn out to be a hustler during COVID, you're not a hustler. Right. Go work for somebody. Go work for Sal. Go work for somebody else. And if you didn't make something and build something out of yourself, this entrepreneurship life is not for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. You could go to school, be a dentist.
Yeah.
Something
more stable.
Yeah. You could be an accountant. Like there's certain things, and you could open up your own practice. But I don't think this lifestyle and this work ethic is not for everybody. A lot of people love the 9 to 5.
You know what it is? It comes down to us being immigrants, right? The work, we're always working. It's like for us, like making sure that we have the stability, we have, enough. We have a cushion, but also is like the entrepreneurship, right? Like in Soviet Russia, our parents were not allowed to make any money, right? Everything was considered to be propaganda or not propaganda, but speculation and like
everybody made the same amount of money. Yeah, your dad could be a doctor, that guy is a janitor, but the salary is exactly the same.
Yeah, and then also I think what also helps you out is like, your psychological point where you're like, all right, this will help me propel. This will boost me this will motivate me to go and actually do these things. Especially when, the real estate market's taking a hit, right? Like some people are just quitting, like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore.
No idea how many times I'm seeing the revolving door of like new faces and everybody saying the same bullshit and they're dancing on TikTok and this and that. I'm like, dude, this is not going to get you anywhere. Like everybody's got this like vision, and the problem is also like these reality shows, like you've got all these like $1 million listings, people are watching like Ryan Serhant. There's one Ryan Serhant.
Correct.
That's it. That's where it ends. Name me another famous realtor. Okay, 2, 3, whatever. That's where it ends. And the same thing in like, I will say in most businesses, right? There's like one Bill Gates, there's one Elon Musk, there's one of all these guys. There's one Michael Jordan, there's one Kobe Bryant. And by the way, in real estate, it's also the same thing. You name me a neighborhood in New York City, right? I'll tell you the broker that represents like Ryan Serhant, Tribeca. He's the king of Tribeca. There's nobody else. There's another guy like Rafael De Niro, but like where Ryan is versus where Rafael De Niro is, it's like, Ryan takes up the first, the second, the third, and the fourth spot. And you need to somehow navigate that. By the way, coming from like that Russian immigrant mentality, I don't know anybody. I'm working in neighborhoods, Park Slope, Williamsburg, Bed-Stuy, Bushwick. There's not a single person from my community that's in there. Yeah. And it's funny how the people that you don't know open up doors for you. Right. But you got to have that personality to approach them and make things happen. By the way, when I started in this business, I didn't even know where Bushwick or Bed-Stuy or Williamsburg, I mean, I knew where they were, but I didn't think that I'd be doing business down there. I thought I'd be getting like referrals from my Wall Street friends. Yeah.
I mean, I remember being in Bushwick in like 05, probably 04, and that my uncle had a car dealership right off the Jackie Robinson. And Bushwick at that time was not gentrified at all. And he's like, all right, make sure you guys are not walking out on your own here. Just stay in here. Don't go anywhere. And like today, now you're looking at it and you're like, wow, there's so much that has changed.
It's insane. It's absolutely
so much. It's like, what, like, I know you don't just focus on Bushwick or Bed-Stuy, but like, why do you like those markets more than like any other market in Brooklyn right now?
So anybody that knows there's a supply and demand issue for sure in New York City, right? Everybody hears about like the housing shortage, right? But Bed-Stuy and Bushwick have like their own unique cool factor that's completely off the charts. Right. So if you're a young professional and you're, let's say, in the artist scene, and instead of like Florida has Wynwood walls, Bushwick has its own walls that are graffitied up and artists everywhere. And, you want to be that cool factor, right? Because Williamsburg right now, like when we were growing up, Williamsburg was the cool neighborhood. Right. Now Williamsburg is like hedge fund guys, trust fund babies, completely unaffordable, Hermes, Dolce & Gabbana, You got Whole Foods there where like the guys that were living there 20 years ago can't afford Whole Foods.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, all right, that's funny because when I saw Hermes moving in there, I think it was like 3-4 years ago. I was like, wow. I'm like, all right, Williamsburg has topped it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like it's all hedge fund guys that.
Yeah,
that
Williamsburg's more expensive than Manhattan.
Yeah, it's wild.
Which, by the way, Brooklyn is the new Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like if people are from outside the city, people are like looking at, oh, he's in Brooklyn, whatever. If you're actually in New York City real estate, Brooklyn's actually where you want to be.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Heights, Boerum Hill, Carroll Gardens, untouchable.
Right.
Untouchable. There was just an article in The Real Deal about how people are paying from 20 to 30% over in Park Slope because there's not enough inventory, housing shortage. So same thing to go back to your original question. I like Bed-Stuy and Bushwick because if you're this cool kid that wants to be there, I still have 40 people open houses.
Yeah.
People talking about the market, 7% interest rates, this, that. You're not in Bed-Stuy, you're not in Bushwick, you're in Idaho or Oklahoma, and you're affected by the market. That's fine. Here I have a supply and demand issue, and I'm selling.
That's what I love about those markets, right? Like you have Bushwick, Bed-Stuy. There's a few other Brooklyn markets, right? Like you have Brooklyn Heights, you have Park Slope. Like those people that are buying in those markets, they don't care about the interest rate. They don't care if they have to put more money down because 100%. They have the backing. They have the money behind them. So,
and by the way, you got to see some of these like when we get an offer, right? So you're either sending me a pre-approval mortgage, proof of funds. You're sending me something that shows me your liquidity. Some of these statements, I mean, these guys are working for Google, Facebook. Yeah. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're a bunch of guys that are, by the way, like Bitcoin, believe it or not believe it, crypto is a thing. There's a lot of people that I've sold that I'm not saying purchasing the whole thing. Down payments are coming from crypto.
Right.
And these are the neighborhoods where people go to a coffee shop and they see like-minded people that are there and they're willing to pay a price for that.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, it's insane though, seeing all that. What was your sales volume like for your entire career in real estate as a broker, like in those markets? What's your sales volume?
Like? In the hundreds of millions, man.
Just for our viewers to understand, like
I don't even want to say. I think I'm pretty sure I'm past like 500 million, but I got to double check. I think on Street Easy last time I checked, I have like 260 or 270 sales.
Nice.
And then we have like another 80 rentals that I've done. We had a couple of years of like 70 plus sales. Like last year, I will say was horrible,
right?
Because of inflation and interest rates. They were just growing. So we still had a decent year, but to do 70 sales in a year back to back is unheard of.
Right.
That's like more than one sale a week.
Right.
There's guys that are like one sale every 2-3 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. So I know a majority of those sales were from like real estate developers and investors that you worked with.
Yeah. So my clientele, I have a network of builders, developers, investors, and that's kind of like who I advertise to and who also know me, that if they're building a product, I'm their go-to agent. I also know everything that they want to know. I know the cost of brick. I know the cost of construction. So when they talk to me about pricing and what we're reselling for, I understand how much blood, sweat, and equity they put into this deal and the returns that they want to hear. And I know every single comp that's there. I'm like a machine to them in terms of like, you have a house in Bed-Stuy, I will tell you 6 houses specifically around you, what they sold, what kind of finishes they have. And, once you get to this level, by the way, it's not like anything fancy. You know your market. The same way, like if you're a car dealer, you know what this car is selling for at this point and what features it has and whatnot. But also when I started, instead of going, everybody had like their relationships, right? So people that grew up in Park Slope had their high school friends and their neighbors that they were getting listings from. I didn't know anybody. And I thought to myself, why am I going to go for one neighbor or one high school friend when I got a builder here who's got 10 apartments, 3 houses, 4 condo projects? And I'm like, and I saw volume. I was also seeing dollar signs.
Right.
I went to them. Oh, God, I messed up so many times that if I, knew back then. And I went after the biggest guys immediately, calling, Like one guy was literally, he gave me a chance because I just kept sitting in his office by the reception every single day. Let me not exaggerate, probably 3 weeks.
Right.
And he was like, yo, just come in. And by the way, when I actually got in there, I bombed the shit out of that meeting. Like, I didn't know what I was talking about. I was like, he liked the hunger.
Right.
So
you got the listing.
Well, like months later, because I kept on following up because he was like the biggest guy, Avi, which you know very well, who's also one of your borrowers. And he gave me a chance because literally I was sitting outside of his office 3 weeks in a row every single day. I couldn't even afford to get lunch. I was just sitting there and, you know, he helped me out. That I had my first client ever was gentleman Jesse, if he's watching. And Jesse came along after I bombed so many meetings and interviews. And I mean, you know, I learned one lesson. And then when I finally figured out, okay, I should know this, somebody else asked me another question, which I bombed. And finally, when I met like my first client, I mean, at the time I didn't know who he was, but also a big landlord in the area.
Yeah.
And I mean, like in theory, I mean, I didn't drop down to my knees, but I was literally begging this guy. I was like, look, and at that point, I was already so done with like pretending to be who I'm not, you know, pretending to be experienced, which I'm not, pretending to know stuff that I don't. I literally just told him the truth. I'm like, Jesse, I'm here on money that I borrowed to put gas in the car.
Wow.
Please, just like, I will work harder than anybody. Just give me a chance. And like he literally threw me a bone. Like he literally gave me, and that transformed me. And I worked like my ass off. And I got like people in my real estate office to help me and put things together. And I mean, I showed up an hour earlier, and you know, the usual. First one in, last one out. And I worked my ass off to impress that guy. And I did it so well that he introduced me to all his friends. And guess what? Like, all these developers and investors, they all hang out together. They all know each other.
They do.
And he passed my name around, and thank God he did, because I don't know where I'd be today.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I feel like you learn a lot more through failures than you do through success.
Absolutely.
You know, and you going through all those failures to get to where you are today is not easy. Also, a lot of money spent, a lot of time, energy. It's not easy. So, like, what was the point where you're like, you know what, I want to represent these developers, but you know what, I'm looking at all these numbers. I know what I'm doing now. Oof. I understand the market. Let me start tackling it myself, because you're seeing these deals on your own too now, right? Like you're getting these deals. You were giving these deals to your clients. Yeah. Now you're like, you know what? Let me start taking advantage. Let me actually start making the real bucks. When did that switch go off?
Oof. Oh man, let me wipe this mic up. So let's get into this. So I'm just gonna be blunt. I'm gonna summarize this in one sentence. I was tired of making other people rich.
Yeah.
You know, these builders were feeding me listings. In return, I was finding them deals. I was finding them distressed properties, helping them out with design, layouts, and you learn a lot on the job. At one point, you know, I was sitting at a closing. I mean, I got a fat check, you know, just to be blunt. I think I made like $70,000.
Nice.
And
with zero risk. You're not taking any risk in the deal.
Zero risk.
This is amazing.
And I felt like amazing. I'm like, fuck. I'm single. I'm going to go party. I'm going to go like, my mind went crazy, because this was, I mean, I made like good money already at that point, but this was like my first like big commission check. Right. And I felt so good. And nothing destroys you when you're sitting at a closing table. You get your check, and my client was sitting right next to me, and he got a check for like $600,000.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck.
I'm doing something wrong.
No, it wasn't even like I'm doing something wrong. I'm just like, I'm so on the wrong side of this.
Yeah.
And I helped that guy. And I mean, I helped him all the way through with and I was like, you know, the other thing is I have the buyers, right? So I know what people are complaining about. Like, oh, there's no double vanity in the master bathroom. We're missing, why didn't they do herringbone floors in the living room? Yeah. Why is it red oak versus white oak? Why is it, you know, so I knew all these things. So I was literally holding his hand. So I literally made this guy $600,000, and I just got thrown like a charity case. I should have been like a partner at that point. And I'm thinking to myself, not only did I do this for him, I could do this better, because if it's for me, I'm gonna go I'm going to work twice as hard.
Right.
And I can make this amount of money on a flip instead of this. And that's where the light bulb really went off. That was the first part of it. The second part of it is, again, this immigrant mentality, safe, comfortable. I just made 70 grand on one transaction.
Yeah.
And no risk.
Right.
So that also took, I'll be honest, I didn't jump into it. That took a little bit of time. There was a couple more times where it like rubbed into my face where now I'm keeping track of like what these guys make, which before didn't even matter.
Yeah.
I'm like, who cares? Yeah. I'm a service provider. You call, whatever, I do it. But now that I'm like thinking to myself, all right, I got to get into this game. I started keeping track of what these other guys are doing. And I'm like, my clients were great. And then I started following other guys that are working with other realtors. And I'm like, I can run circles around this guy. I could literally run circles around this guy. And then I said, you know what? Let's do it. Serge helped me out with my first lender.
Nice.
The same attorney. I found the deal. And on the first one, I made like probably 100-some thousand. And represented myself. I did minimalistic whatever work. I didn't want to like push the envelope too much. I did it in a really working class area where, safe. And then I was like, and then when I got that check, I was just like,
what's next?
Yeah, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? No risk, no reward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made the smart move, right? You're not biting more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Right? Which is important. You got into a market where there was liquidity there. You didn't really have to put in much work into it, but you just wanted to test out the market to see how it would work out for you.
Absolutely.
Which is great. And I'm pretty sure your lender at that time also appreciated it because you didn't have construction experience technically on paper, but now you're creating that track record with them, which is a huge help. What did you learn from that first transaction that you closed on? What were your pain points there? I'm sure there's some sort of pain point there.
First one, I'll just tell you, the anxiety and stress is like, oh man. First of all, you're borrowing money that you don't have.
Right.
It's your first time doing. I don't care what it is that your first time doing, especially when it comes to these kind of things. Like look, I'll give you a job that you've never done before. You're gonna have some growing pains, but here it's just the combination of so many factors that are outside of your control. You're waiting on an architect, then all your vendors, your plumbers, your electricians, your floor guy, your window guy, all of these people that, you're not relying. Like when it came to sales, I'm in full control. I know what's going on. Here, when I thought I was in control, I'm also heavily relying on like outside vendors. Electrician didn't show up. I'm stressing out because time is money. I got to pay hard money. I need closings. I need this. So managing stress was like probably one of the first lessons that, hit hard. Also like navigating Department of Buildings.
It's a pain, especially in New York City.
New York City Department of Building. I don't care where you are in the country. New York City Department of Buildings is on another level.
It is.
We got expediters, we got architects, we got lawyers. There's different kinds. There's landlord, tenant attorneys. You got to know so many things when it comes to Department of Buildings. It's literally learning another language. Bob.
It is. And God forbid you get a squatter in this property. Now you got to deal with a whole nother
that's a
set
whole
of issues.
Right. That's a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
And you got to play by their rules. But I will tell you this: when you figure out how to play by their rules, it actually gets easier.
Yeah.
It actually gets easier. So years later, I thank God have like the right crews in place for all these different things. I got the right architect, the right contract, the right partners, the right investor, the right everything in place, the right lender.
Right.
All of these things, when they all come together, it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
It's like a chef that's in the kitchen that knows just the right amount of salt, the amount of pepper, the heat, and when it all comes out of the oven.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Nothing tastes more delicious than that check.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, I know that for a fact. I mean, we were in those shoes too. Like when we were fixing and flipping, it was great times.
Yeah, especially, listen, I think we all come from like hardworking backgrounds. Yeah. Man, I was just having a conversation with somebody. They were like, oh, what's your first job? I was 11 years old giving out flyers for $2 an hour in the rain and snow People like telling me about how hard they work.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm busting my ass since 11. I worked as a mechanic. I did waiter. You name it. I worked literally.
You worked as a mechanic?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's hilarious.
Brakes, oil. By the way, that's a job from hell.
Yeah, dude, I know firsthand.
In the summertime, tin garage. Everything is all metal. It's, New York City humidity, plus with like 95-degree weather. Everything you touch is hot. Hot oil spilling on you. I mean, I was... Woof.
That's funny. I didn't know you did that. I actually did that too. Me and my friend decided to open up like a mechanic shop. This is when I was like 18 or 19 years old, behind my parents' garage. We're like, all right, let's make a couple of bucks.
Love it.
This was in the middle of winter. I had one of my friends that she needed like a full service. So it was like an oil change the spark plugs, brakes, everything. We got the oil change. We got the brakes done.
Tell me you fucked up the car.
And then the spark plugs come out. The car was old. Okay. So we take out the spark plugs. It was a V6. So 5 spark plugs were fine. Take the 6th one out. 6th one comes out. And then there was like a weird click. I'm like, all right. I'm like, that's not right. So I'm squeezing in the new spark plugs. All 5 are fine. I'm trying to put in the 5th one in. The thread was completely gone. It was like horrible. So I was like, oh my God, it's not coming in now. So thankfully, I have a few mechanic friends. So I reached out to them. They towed the car.
Yeah.
They fixed the thread and then they got the car running. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think we all worked as kids.
Yeah.
And all decided to run our own businesses. Even like in real estate, like on the brokerage side, like you're running your own business. Like you are the business.
100%.
So
100%. Like some people that I'm talking to, they're like, they're like, I'm like, what's your end goal? Like I have 120 people in my office.
Yeah.
And I look at them and I'm just like, what are you guys like? What are you gonna do at 55, 60? You don't own property. You're just running. And we're all like these hamsters in the wheel, running. And that's, by the way, another light bulb that went off at me where I'm like, look, I'm making great money, but like I am the business. So tomorrow, whatever, I break my leg, God forbid, whatever, I can't work. What am I doing?
Yeah. What are you falling back on?
And that's when this came out. And, thank God our renovation business is amazing, and we have multiple projects going on. I found a niche area that not a lot of people are doing, which you already know about the condo conversions. That's a other conversation. And, that's leading into owning properties, which New York City real estate is better than gold. I don't care what stock you got.
Yeah.
Up, down, market, Bitcoin, whatever. Show me a free market 5 family, and then show me a guy that wants to buy Bitcoin. I guarantee you put 100 people in the room, I'm going to say 99 are going to go for the building versus the guy that's going to go for the Bitcoin.
Yeah, that is true.
Apples to apples, right?
Yeah, no, 100% for sure.
Yep.
I mean, listen, it also depends on people's level of risk, right? Like what type of risk do they want to take?
Yeah.
Like Bitcoin is extremely volatile.
Yeah.
No risk, no reward, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, some people have like a few borrowers that have they have a really nice real estate portfolio, but they also have a crypto portfolio now, you can call it, and they have stocks. Too. Yeah.
I got one too. My brother-in-law is a heavy investor, stocks. He works on Wall Street. He's in a hedge fund. I mean, his advice is like, bro, he's like the Warren Buffett of our generation. I have it also.
Yeah.
But again, if you give me let's just say a building is worth $1 million. And you give me an opportunity to buy $1 million worth of crypto or stocks, I mean, maybe it's the circle that I'm in. I'm pretty sure out of 100 people, 99 are going to go, I'm going to buy the building.
But there's also a difference, right? With the crypto and the real estate. In the real estate, you can lever up.
Yes.
You can take leverage. You can take debt out. You have the collateral, which is the real estate, which is nice.
Oof.
And that's where guys like ourselves come in, right? There's so many people out there, like an average person that does not know how real estate works, and then they see these guys like yourself buying up these properties left and right, and they're throwing millions of dollars into these projects. I think together we've transacted north of $7 or $8 million in deals.
Yeah, in the past couple of months.
In the past couple of months only.
You got a couple more million coming also.
I know. and people are looking and they're like, where the hell is this guy getting money? Well, you can leverage. You can lever it up, and you have crazy high returns with that too.
Such a good point, yeah.
So it's a beautiful process. And I mean for a while I know you were buying some deals all cash as well,
Yep.
where you didn't want to deal with a lender. You're like, I don't want to deal with the headache of getting into a hard money loan or a private loan, whatever you want to call it.
You convinced me. You showed me the light, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm forever grateful to you because you were like, Mark, why are you putting all this money in here when you could leverage it? And I didn't think about it that way. And you know, I think it's also that like immigrant mentality. Don't buy something unless you can afford it.
Right.
Don't leverage.
Right.
Don't have debt. Don't have this. Debt is a beautiful thing.
If you have it right.
Right. If you use debt the right way,
Yes.
you could level up like crazy. And by the way, I'll tell you, the biggest real estate guys in the nation are all leveraged through the roof.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, you hear the horror stories, but if you know what you're doing, it's the right risk reward.
Exactly. And it comes down to the person's risk. You know, there's people that they want to lever up to the top and squeeze as much juice out of it as possible for their deals. Then there's others like yourself, right? Like there was a deal where you didn't take all the construction money. Like you didn't take any construction money. You said, hey, I'll finance this on my own. Because you're like, you know what? I don't want to have that high payment, or I rather just use the money, the cash that I have. Another thing, right, is liquidity. Like make sure you have enough liquidity for you to be able to withstand, you know, maybe there's something that's going to happen
100%.
that you need to fall back on
100%.
and use a little bit of your liquidity
100%.
for. So that's also really important. The first project that we financed together.
Yeah.
How did you like the process from soup to nuts? What did you think?
I loved it. That's why we're in like another 3 after that.
Yeah.
I mean, immediately we went into like 3 after that. I loved it. I mean, look, the service that you guys answer the phone, which is like, by the way, in every single industry, mortgage brokers, if you're listening to this, answer the phone. But I don't care who you are. If you're an attorney, if you're an investor, if you're any kind of service provider, I feel like I'm just interacting with people's voicemails and everybody's texting and this and that. In our line of work, this is one of the few things where like I need to explain to you what's going on, and can't be in a text message. Yeah. You're there. If you don't pick up, you're always texting right away like, yo, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. And I feel like that's our thread, by the way. Call you back, call you back, call you back.
That is so true.
But we finally find a time, right, where we're both available, we talk, and you're available, you know? And I feel like anybody that's new that needs a little bit of hand-holding, not that I'm trying to throw you on the bus because I'm sure you don't want to be holding a lot of people's hands because, you know, you're not in that business. But I'm just saying, if somebody needs a little bit of hand-holding, I don't know any other lender that's there, especially for somebody small, right? Because you rather deal with a guy that like, you know, like the Hirschmark Capital guys, they deal with, you know, loans over $5 million. They're like, okay, if we're going to lend, let's lend big. Yeah. I get it. You guys are more volume-based. But if you're a small-time guy, like my first deal, man, I wish I had some hand-holding. Yeah. People just threw me in there and figure it the fuck out. Yeah. And I did.
You got to figure it out. Either sink or swim.
Yeah, no, but you guys are on a different level in terms of, one, you're staffed up. There's a guy that handles every single thing. Yeah. Where, by the way, other lenders, there's like one guy handling 6 different things, and you can't get in touch with him. Like, I can't even blame the guy for not answering the phone because, like, these lenders throw everything at one poor guy. Yeah. And he doesn't know which fire to put out first and where. With you guys, there is like a whole team. There's Moshe, there's Sal. I mean, there's Ruben, there's Marlo, there's Hanaya. There's like everybody's got like a role, and you could get in touch with everybody. Emails are flying, you know. And I see like, you know, like I need a wire. Which, by the way, I keep emphasizing like these wires and like the speed of it. Whoever is listening to this, the only thing that stalls a real estate project and the only thing that holds you back is money. Yes. You need money in real estate to make money. That's it. Yeah. That's the only thing that matters, and the only reason why there's problems on real estate construction sites or job sites or developments or flips is the lack of money. That's it. Yeah. So I keep on reiterating this wire thing and how smooth it is and the app and the pictures and all that, because that's a single-handedly the #1 deal killer on all projects.
It really is. I've heard nightmares from borrowers that came to us from other lenders. I'm not going to name any lender names, but these people would wait for wires for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's insane.
You know how important it is. We also understand how important it is because we came from that world as well.
Yeah. You want the guy to understand it.
Yeah, people are waiting to get paid. If they're not getting paid, they're not continuing with the construction. If the construction is not being continued, the project's being stalled. Now you can't put the property on the market as soon as you want it to. And it just like it's a domino effect. That's a big problem. I mean, look, thankfully we're fully staffed. We have a really good staff behind us. We have account executives that are doing not a lot of hand holding, but there are some first time borrowers that come to us, like first time flippers.
Yeah.
They come to us that they don't have any experience, and we
Honestly,
have to do a hand holding with
somebody,
them.
somebody from experience, I think you guys are and I wish I knew you during my first flip, and instead of focusing on where could I literally save like a quarter here and a quarter there, instead of like seeing the big picture. But
That's a lot coming from you.
I mean, I tell you all the time you're expensive. I tell you all the time,
baby.
I tell you all the time you're expensive. But look, it is what it is. If you're a first time, if you're flipping your first deal, it would be a sin to go anywhere else. Pay up, let somebody hold your hand. You're paying for the fucking education.
Yeah.
Literally, that's the way to look at it. You want to get educated, go with WeLend, let them hold your hand, and then, I'm going to talk shit. If for whatever reason you find somebody cheaper after you've already done 3 or 4 deals, go explore somewhere else.
Yeah.
And by the way, I guarantee you they'll come back anyway, because I've already done enough where I don't need the hand holding and I'm still with you guys because the level of customer service is unparalleled, man.
I appreciate that. It's not easy. I mean, listen, there are times when you and I jump on a call late at night where we're discussing your deal. I'm like, but I personally love it because I just love the industry altogether, and like I just love looking at these deals and like just picking our borrowers' brains, like picking your brain sometimes too. I'm like, oh, this is a fucking genius idea. I'm like, I really like.
Yeah, no, you got to be passionate. Listen, in order for the money to come, you got to love what you do, and you guys are you do like 600 million in loans.
Yeah, 600 million in loans to date, across like 13 or 1400 loans, 0 principal loss. Like we've lost 0 money, thank God.
Wow,
Knock on wood. But listen, it's not easy. But what also helped us is making sure that we're leveraging the right people. In a sense where, if it's a first-time borrower that's coming to us, we're not giving them 90% on their acquisition like we do for you, or 100% for the construction. Like we'll give them a bit less, right? Like we'll give them 80% towards their acquisition, maybe 75% towards their acquisition.
By the way, that's better than other lenders dealing with a first-time guy.
Yeah. You know what's funny? One of our good friends, David, came to us for a loan. This is like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah. And he's like, dude, he's also a broker. Like, clearly, for you guys, friends. Like he's a broker as well, in the Brooklyn market and the New York City market in general, like Mark. And he's like, dude, I've always worked with these developers. I've seen their numbers. Same thing as you. Like, I want to get into these deals myself now. Yeah. And he's like, my issue always was the financing aspect of things. And he's like, I thought it was brain damage. He's like, I came to you guys and this thing was so quick and so fast. He's like, I wish I started this so much sooner.
Yeah. No, because look, I'll just tell you, if you have no track record, which was the case with me, I had no track record.
You had no track record on paper, but you have the experience.
Right. But I'm saying my first loan, they gave me 80% and no construction money. So 80% plus closing costs, by the way. So I was like roughly 75, let's round it off to probably 70% financing, so 30% down, and all the construction on my own. And the guy, because I don't think you guys were even, I don't know, WeLend was even
We
around.
started in 2018.
This is before 2018.
Yeah.
Or roughly around the same time. And Serge, who made the introduction, he was like, dude, you should be kissing their feet. Because I was like, yo, can we because I forgot about closing costs. I was like, can we just at least wrap the closing cost into the loan? And they were like, absolutely not. And I was like going back and forth to them, just like trying to negotiate. And Serge was like, yo, stop negotiating because nobody else is going to lend you. You have like no track record and somebody's about to give you like $500,000. Yeah. They're like, just stop. And I was like, you know what? That's a good point. I shut up, went to the closing, paid up. And by the way, also same thing, 0 service, chasing, waiting for wires, waiting for approval, sending pictures, calling. And this is what I would like, if somebody takes away one thing from this whole entire conversation, don't fall into that.
Yeah.
where they just don't know that like they're going to be calling, waiting. You know, you got, by the way, there's nothing like a pissed off electrician or like a service provider. You know, you got a roofer.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are, you know, first of all, look, they're service providers. They're hard workers. Everybody's got families. Everybody's putting food on the table. Somebody provide a service. You got to pay them. And you can't be like, oh, my lender is holding back the payment for like another week.
Yeah, they don't.
That's not how this works.
Yeah. They don't care. It's like that scene in Goodfellas. I'm not going to get into it, but like.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So we're doing a couple projects together.
Yeah.
Well, not together, but as your lender.
Yeah.
Which one of them is your favorite project? Why? And then we'll get into some more detail with them.
So, tough, because I don't know. It's between Park Slope and my Bergen project. So I'm going to go with Bergen because, you know, I was fighting for this property, bidding wars, other developers, other bidders, and landlords. And everybody had a different vision, and I was the only one where my vision was to buy an existing rental building and convert it into condos. Which, by the way, speaking of like Department of Buildings, if anybody knows this, like at this, you have to know what you're doing. Because even like the most experienced guys, that whole level of getting a condo book approval from the Department of Buildings is an absolute nightmare. Thank God I have the brokerage behind me where I have like the best lawyers, Ayal, helping with the condo book. I'm sure you know Ayal also. So I like that in terms of I had a vision that nobody else had, and I was willing to pay up for it. And I got very aggressive with the offer where I knew other people were bidding against it. I mean, all the big boys, Park Slope Associates, Green Builders, everybody was looking at this property. And I went, you know, I gave somebody an offer. I said, listen, you have 24 hours. I'm going to give you this number. You have 24 hours to countersign this contract. Otherwise, my offer is off the table. And I mean, there was a couple of other bullet points that I made in there that I want to give all the secrets away. And within 24 hours, they signed the contract. We were in. You know, I picked up this building for $1.5 million. By the way, 2 doors down for me, there's condos that are selling for more than $1.5 million. So my first condo is going to pay off the whole entire loan.
It's amazing. And everything else is just pure profit.
Yeah, and I'm also the only one that has a driveway. I mean, whatever. But to answer the question, out of the loans that we have right now, but I have something else coming up on McDonough Street, Prime, Bed-Stuy. I bought a 25 by 70 deep limestone, which, by the way, you know, building sizes. Yeah. That doesn't exist. I have exposed brick. I have 14-foot ceilings on one floor, 12-foot ceilings on another floor. I'm going to do, the project is going to be called the Lofts on McDonough.
Nice.
Which you guys are going to be part of course. And another thing that nobody had the vision that I have. People are like, oh, this is and by the way, I paid up like crazy. Here, it was the opposite. Nobody's buying this building.
Yeah.
I come in, and people are like, what do you know that nobody else knows? Every landlord was looking at, builders were looking at, developers were looking at it, and everybody's like, it's too expensive. And I was like, the lofts in Bed-Stuy don't exist. First of all, New York City real estate, everybody loves lofts.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're looking for. 14-foot ceilings, exposed brick. I have a massive air shaft in the middle also. So lights coming in from all directions. I have exposures on 3 sides. I mean, you tell me a kid that thinks Bed-Stuy is cool that's going to come in there, I mean, and get a 14-foot loft.
Yeah, I think that's...
unheard of.
Yeah, that's definitely unheard of in Bed-Stuy.
I've got outdoor space. I have a backyard. I have a deck. I have a roof deck that I'm building for them. And again, you gotta have a vision. By the way, like, you know, again, everybody was looking at this building, like, oh, it's too expensive. It's this. I don't know about the block or whatever. But once you come in there and you have like the vision and you're willing, by the way, you got to have balls for these things too. You got to you got to take the risk. You got to be able, by the way, it's a very expensive buy that I mean, I'm literally saying I paid up more than anybody else. And there's other issues. We got to get it vacant, which we're making deals with tenants and buyouts and all the other cash for keys experiences that New York City is wonderful in. But that's going to be another very exciting project right after Bergen.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait to see that project. Limestone by 25 by 70.
25 wide by 70 deep limestone.
That's amazing. I can't wait to do some videos over there.
Oh, sick. I'm so super excited about that.
Yeah. What are some takeaways or like some like nuggets that you can throw to some gems that you can throw to our listeners here about your project on Bergen with the condo conversion play?
Wow, good question. I mean, it's very hard to answer this because I have experience from the brokerage side where I know what buyers want to see, and I'm giving them exactly that product.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing like exposed beams. You see the woodwork coming everywhere. I know like everybody complains about like the primary bathroom doesn't have two vanities. You know, a lot of couples buy, there's one sink. You know, you're in the morning, you need to run out. Your significant other is, you know, brushing their teeth. You need to. So I'm doing all the things that I see my clients that are builders and developers not do and buyers complaining about. I'm giving them all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and it's small things that like separate you from everybody else that people are going to realize this. Like, for instance, we're doing smart toilets, you know, which is like a big thing that nobody wants to spend money on, by the way. These things are like literally 15 times the price. If you could buy a regular toilet for $100, these things start at like $1,500 and mine are even more expensive than that. But they have these features that are like heated seats, you know, they have a bidet. And by the way, this is your home that you're living in. People love and appreciate these things. You know, like other things that we're doing floor to ceiling windows.
Right.
Windows are crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Developers don't want to pay this. And by the way, everybody looks at it as just an Excel spreadsheet. But I budget this Excel spreadsheet. I also have one, obviously. But my Excel spreadsheet has a higher selling price because you know what? People are going to go see 30 homes. They're going to complain about 30 different things. And this house is going to check every single thing that those other 30 houses that they saw don't have. And I'm going to ask for a higher price because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the only game in town. So you want to check all these boxes out. You want a driveway. You want a garage. You want parking. You want smart house. I have a Tesla charger. I have all these things that everybody asks for and nobody has. Pay me for that.
Yeah. There's a few takeaways there, right? One takeaway for borrowers or listeners is you want to partner up with someone. And I say partner up because it's a true partnership, because you want, if you're going into a luxury market, especially luxury markets, you want to partner up with someone like yourself, right? Like a broker that understands the market, understands what people are looking for in that market and what's needed, right? I think that's one huge thing. Two is don't be cheap, right? Like
100%.
That's the biggest thing. You want to make sure that you're putting in the quality work into these properties, into these projects. I think that's really important. There was another point that I wanted to make that I just literally slipped my mind, but it was really good. Oh man. Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's huge.
I mean, you guys are a partner. While you're remembering the question, I'll just tell you, nobody's a greater partner than your hard money lender.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, look, you could replace whatever, your electrician, your plumber, whatever. The hard money thing is, there's other shows, you know, that you could go and look at, but you're literally bringing on a partner, and this is your financial partner. You know, by the way, there's guys that do deals where I know they have like other investors where somebody puts up money, they take 50% of your profit, you do all the work.
Yeah.
That hurts, by the way.
It does.
Where you guys are coming in and whatever, let's round it off to you're a 20% partner.
Right. Even less.
I mean, pending when the sell when the sell happens and everything else, you know, sign me up for a 20% partner. You guys put up 80% of the money and you're a 20% partner.
It makes sense. The other thing that I was going to bring up, I just remembered, is like the biggest thing is like people, like these developers need to understand, like, hey, you should build as if you were going to live there.
Yes.
Right. Like,
oh, love that you said that.
Don't go crazy, like over budget, but like still build like you would live there. Like, care about the project. That's super important.
Absolutely, man. And look, I'll even say, like, I was talking about finishes and like having like, you know, 2 sinks and all this other stuff. The other thing is like structural stability also.
Yeah.
You know how many houses I sold that had later on, like somebody called me within a year, there's a leak, there's this, the basement, there's mold, and like none of these things should be happening, especially like within a first year. And look, I get it. Things happen. Bill, you know, again, I sold whatever, 260, 270 houses. You're going to have a few over there. But now that I sold all of that, right, like I make sure structurally, you know, every single floor has support. The support lines up and goes all the way into the ground. I make sure the roof, I rip off the whole entire roof.
Yeah.
And I put 2 layers on to make sure, not just 1, 2 layers, new plywood, new everything, new gutters. And I make sure none of these things exist. And by the way, like, I'm going into a more of like a condo conversion market, and that's where I'm just starting to specialize into my flips. And if you know New York City rules, Attorney General, make sure that you give warranty, not like just on appliances. The whole thing, you stay on for pending how you structure it. It could be 3 years. It could be at least minimum a year on certain things inside the house, but 3 years on structure, stability, and all these other things. So I'm standing by my product, and I know that within 3 years, not only nothing's going to happen here, but I'm giving you my guarantee backed by the Attorney General of New York that my product is going to withstand whatever issues are going to be there. Yeah. And that says a lot, by the way. Most developers are, we're in, we're out, we're done, see you later. And that's it.
Yeah, it's important to know who. I mean, as a buyer, like, it's really important to understand who the developer is behind the project.
Of course,
I've heard about nightmares, like straight up nightmares, and I know a few developers that are stuck in projects in the Hamptons. I mean, look, the Hamptons is a completely different beast, completely different market,
secondary market, all vacation. Homes.
But I literally toured this property personally. I went through it, and the type of work that they did in there was straight up Home Depot style renovation.
Really, in the Hamptons?
In the Hamptons, I'm like, this developer is out of his mind.
Yeah.
He has a hard money loan on it. I'm like, he's like, listen, I'm probably gonna just end up paying it off all cash. He wanted us to refi him out. We're like, listen, this project doesn't really look too good, and we don't want to get stuck in this loan.
I never understood guys like this. By the way, I never understood. And look, the difference between doing it right and doing it half-ass and cutting corners, it's just fucking greed, man.
It is. It's
absolutely just greed. I never understood this at all. Wouldn't you want make a little bit less, and we all know how to cut corners, but you have a name, and these people are going to refer you other things, and like, you're not getting these phone calls and these, like, you know, threats of lawsuits and all these other things. Like, just stand by and do quality work.
Yeah, I agree. So, Mark, it looks like our time is almost up here.
Sure.
We're going to wrap up. Is there any takeaways that you want to share with our viewers?
I mean, I basically said everything. You know, I mean, look, you guys are hosting me here, so I can't say thank you enough for the business, the service that you guys provide. Not to be repetitive, again, I think if you're just starting out, there's literally nobody else that you should be talking to about WeLend.
I appreciate that.
And even the most experienced guys that actually understand this and heard the part where, you know, you're stuck and you're waiting for wires and payments and all this other stuff. The fact that you guys turn it around within 2 to 3 days maximum is it's the only institution you guys should be going to, and that hence why you guys are $600 million in loans.
I appreciate it. We're trying to double that. And maybe in the next 2 years. Guys, so there's a few takeaways here, right? The biggest takeaway I would say is making sure that you have the right broker next to you when you're purchasing these properties, especially like luxury properties, right? Partner up with someone like Mark as a broker on the deal. Pay them the 5%, pay them the 6%. It's worth every single penny because they'll walk you guys through the whole entire transaction. They'll help you guys with the layout. They'll help you guys with the interior design, etc. 2, super important, right? Make sure when you're building, don't build half-assed, don't build cheap. Build like you were to live in that property, right? That's also very important. Like, borrowers always call me and say, hey, what are the few things that you can recommend? That's one of the biggest things I would recommend, right? Is making sure that when you're building something, you build it like you would live in it, because that will fly off the shelf. You'll get that property sold, you get your money, you get your profit, and you go on to the next project. If you guys have any questions, how to be able to get a private money loan, please feel free to reach out to us at info@welendllc.com or 212-777-7780. We'll always have someone that'll be able to answer any one of your questions. And see you guys in the next podcast. Boom.